Hello, I am Endlessness and welcome back to Final Fantasy VII Evo Crisis, and in this video I'd like to give you a guide for the floor B24 in the Pearl Singularity Tower. Angeal Penance is weak to both fire and ice, and depending on which element you bring, he'll keep buffing his elemental resistance to that element. So if you're taking ice, better bring something to debuff ice resistance, and same with fire. And Angeal will occasionally have a force gauge, and he'll protect himself with Veil, meaning that first you have to deplete Veil, and then you can start nullifying that elemental resistance to deplete the force gauge. And during the battle he'll have a Sigil phase, so bring an X Sigil, and other than that he'll do some charged magic attacks, and you definitely want some defensive buffs here, because Angeal will also inflict enfeeble status on you, so all debuffs will hurt you a lot more. I think there are many ways to do this battle, and you could go with fire or ice, or even both elements. Could bring 1 DPS with support, or just go 2 DPS, so it feels like we have an endless amount of options to build our team. And I tested 2 teams, one fire team with Matt and Barret acting as support, and Matt is buffing fire and magic damage, and Barret is debuffing fire resistance and Sephiroth with fire build, and also Tifa would work exactly the same, and this team worked well, but I think an ice team could be better, because here I have 2 DPS, so it goes a bit faster, and it's a mixed team, since I have Sephiroth with magic damage and Zack is a physical DPS. And if you have Camera on Aerith, you could go with Zack and Tifa, or Cloud with Ice DPS, and it would work even better. But since I'm lacking Camera, I have Crimson Staff instead to buff Sephiroth, and Mithril Rod to provide both defensive buffs, and Zack is here more as sub DPS to debuff ice resistance while doing some additional damage, and Ceremonial Sword, so he can buff himself, his physical attack, and Sephiroth is here to just do big PP damage, and also Magic Ice Yuffie would work here just as well, even better because her weapon C ability is much stronger. And I also have many equipment slots empty, and I only brought the necessary equipment to lower my stats to make this guide more accessible, but you should equip all your best weapons. I'm not here to boost your stats. Aerith has Bahamut outfit with Breath of the Earth, Crimson Staff for magic DPS buffs, Mithril Rod for defensive buffs, ultimate weapon, Cura in all Cure slot. Ice Bridge is very optional, but it just to sometimes help Zack to debuff faster, X Sigil, and in sub-equipment slots 2 yield weapons with physical and magic defense for allies. Zack has Story outfit with Icy Judgment, Pressure Ridge to debuff ice resistance, Ceremonial Sword for non-elemental damage and to buff physical attack, Ultimate and X Sigil in boost slot, and in sub-equipment slot Zack has 2 weapons to increase his physical attack a bit. Sephiroth has All Arcanum outfit with Shiva, Edged Wings for DPS and Odin for exploit weakness, ultimate weapon and X Sigil in boost slot, and then in sub-equipment slot Sephiroth has a weapon with magic attack and magic ability potency. Alright, Angeal Penance, and here very soon he will cast a Veil on himself, so you want to start buffing yourself, and you don't need to start debuffing him because he'll cleanse himself from all those debuffs, so just start buffing yourself so you're prepared to just do as much DPS as you can, because first you have to deplete that Veil, and after this you can start nullifying that ice resistance buff here, because otherwise your ice damage wind will not be effective at all. Alright, and as you can, when you see that your next attack will deplete the Veil, you can already start pre-casting your debuffs And just here, just make sure that your magic defense is buffed. And Zack should be able to deplete it. Yeah, perfect. But here on this first attack, even if you don't fully deplete the force gauge, or even mostly don't even touch it, you will not die. So you're safe here. You'll take more damage, but it won't be nowhere near enough to kill you. Alright, let's just do those additional debuffs. And now the sigil phase, and it is a little bit annoying because he cast Veil on himself again. But just break those sigils so he avoids him doing his attack. Because End of Gluttony is an attack where he will permanently buff his attack. And now same thing. First deplete the Veil. And that's why if you have elemental summons, I recommend just wait with them until you have everything depleted for maximum damage here. Alright, one more here. I'm just preparing. I still need that MDF debuff. And let's use those summons. And that should be a big PP bonk. Because Angeal doesn't actually have that much HP as some other bosses in the Spiral Tower. He's not as tanky. Oh, so... Well, here comes the End of Gluttony. And that means I will not benefit from that ice buff. And that's why, because here comes the Veil again. So the same thing. First deplete Veil, and after this ice resistance, and hopefully have enough DPS to deplete that force gauge. And actually, yeah, let's do this. That should be enough, I'm pretty sure, yeah. But also here, the same thing, make sure that your magic defense is buffed. But no, you are inflicted with Enfeeble, so whenever Angeal debuffs your defenses or attack, you'll take a lot more damage. So be careful of that, and you want to nullify that debuff as quickly as possible, because you'll take a lot more damage than normally. And here, because our magic defense is fully debuffed, well, almost fully, it's extra high. Well, he's almost dead, so let's just use this. But if you need a little bit more time to save AB on nullifying those debuffs, you can just use Breath of the Earth, and this limit break, it will nullify all defensive debuffs that are inflicted on you. So it's just easy way to save your AB. But yeah, that's the whole battle, and Angeal doesn't really have Enrage. He just, with that End of Gluttony, he just hits harder, but that's it. at least from what I've noticed. But yeah, that would be it. I find this battle is interesting, but also very irritating because Angeal keeps doing the veil thing, so you have to deplete the veil and then ice resistance over and over again, so it is a little bit irritating, but I think it's an interesting battle, but maybe it's just Crisis Core nostalgia. But yeah, that would be it. So I hope you found my guide helpful, and thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you next one.